The Mass Effect franchise has some of the best action RPGs of all time, but every game still has its own pros and cons. So today we're going to explore the pros and cons of every game in the franchise. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. The best thing about Mass Effect 1 is two things in one: the story and the atmosphere. Mass Effect 1 is mostly shrouded in mystery. You don't know anything about Sovereign, who or what he is. You don't even know what Saren's true motives are. Things like these are why Mass Effect 1's plot had the perfect twists, such as the moments of learning about Sovereign being the Reaper, that he was the mastermind of all the events that happened, and that Saren is no longer in power like we thought he was at the start of the game. Saren is a nuanced and compelling villain though, as he is indeed intelligent and not very stupid at all.
I applaud you, Shepard. My Geth were utterly convinced the Solarians were the real threat. An impressive diversion. Of course, it was all for nothing. I can't let you disrupt what I've accomplished here. You can't possibly understand what's really at stake.
Sovereign and its kind destroyed the Protheans. What else is there to understand?
You've seen the vision from the beacons, Shepard. You of all people should understand what the Reapers are capable of. They cannot be stopped. Do not mire yourself in pointless revolt. Do not sacrifice everything for the sake of petty freedoms. The Protheans tried to fight, and they were utterly destroyed. Trillions dead. But what if they had bowed before the invaders? Would the Protheans still exist? Is submission not preferable to extinction?
Do you really believe the Reapers will let us live?
Now you see why I never came forward with this to the Council. We organics are driven by emotion instead of logic. We will fight even when we know we cannot win.
BioWare sort of made Saren as a love letter to the Silver Surfer, with a hoverboard and the appearance of Saren covered in silver. He's also quite reminiscent with Darth Vader, in which both are beings who are powerful cyborgs, both were once heroes, and both operate under overarching masters who really want power and control. The atmosphere through the music is excellent, my favourite being this one.
Seal the station! The arms aren't moving. System's not responding. Abandon the Citadel! Evacuate the Council! Citadel Control! Citadel Control, do you copy?
Overall, Mass Effect 1 has the best story, atmosphere and villain, and that is something I would like to see more focused on in Mass Effect 5. However, like always in games, there are flaws. So the worst thing about Mass Effect 1 is that every Uncharted world is empty. A very infamous and not so good example that appears in open world games today. Apart from planets such as Alatania and Onturum, where things you can find are interesting, such as the mysterious Prothean Spear and the shifty looking cow, the side quests on other unexplored planets are not convincing enough to complete, as apart from unique dialogue that is seen in the sequels, there is no change to the endings. The best thing about Mass Effect 2 is the linear mission structure. Gone was the Mako and exploring planets, although I was a bit disappointed about that. It was necessary since Mass Effect 1 did not use the exploration properly, and Mass Effect 2 had a lot better side quests in a linear structure, instead of an open world style of things. For instance, if you were in areas such as the Citadel, then you just needed to chat to someone to trigger a little side quest. The loyalty missions were also a good aspect where they played a massive part in the ending of the game, such as if the person was not loyal either because you did not do the mission or you missed something in a mission, then that person will die at the end of the game, or would survive the ending but would die eventually in the next game. So you had to do the loyalty missions properly if you wanted to have the best ending in the trilogy. The worst thing about Mass Effect 2 though is Cerberus. The elusive man is an interesting person, and respect to Martin Sheen for bringing him to life. But the elusive man isn't really the reason why Cerberus is the worst thing in Mass Effect 2 in my opinion. So what is the reason then? The reason is that we have been forced to be allies with Cerberus. Mass Effect is an RPG, so BioWare could have easily had a Cerberus option and ending, and another option that either allowed you to return to the Alliance or be the free guy with a squad rather than work with a paramilitary group. Considering that there were dialogue choices where you could deny working with Cerberus, it was quite a missed opportunity. Although in the end it didn't really matter, since Shepard did end up splitting from Cerberus at the tail end of Mass Effect 2. But still, I would have had more options opened up, and the opportunity to choose who to side with would have given more of the freedom you would expect in an RPG, since some other RPGs did exactly that. Before we move on to Mass Effect 3, if you're enjoying this video then please hit the like button and subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this. So, the best thing about Mass Effect 3 is the atmosphere. From start to finish you feel the impending doom from the Reapers. The desperation and lack of hope that you see in the game has been really captured excellently. It really makes you get the impression of losing a war that you had no chance of winning, and missions like Rannoch were uplifting, while missions like Thezia felt like a punch to the gut. Mass Effect 3 is like the final ride on a roller coaster, and is overall the longest in the original trilogy, due to the main quests being double the amount and length of the previous games, and the addition of more DLC that is also much longer than the ones in the first and second game. The DLC adds to the story, as well as revisiting older places and bringing familiar characters from the previous games. The Citadel DLC stands out the most due to feeling like the last time we would ever enjoy time together with the old crew from the first game, and is a perfect way to just explore and run around Mass Effect 3 before starting that final mission on Earth. The worst thing about Mass Effect 3, however, is the catalyst. Some people complain about the ending in general, but the real problem in my opinion is the catalyst. The worst character in the entire Mass Effect universe. I mean, why was this character even made? The Reapers claimed that they were autonomous and were not controlled by an AI. That is what made us feel perturbed by them, and the catalyst claiming that it's trying to prevent AI versus organics is complete nonsense and doesn't really fit with the story. I would have rather had the writers go with what their original ending was, since that would have made more sense. The original ending was something akin to the Arrival DLC. In the Arrival DLC, which is set a few months before Mass Effect 3, is where you learn that the Reapers are arriving into the Milky Way via a supermass relay known as the Alpha Relay, which unlike other relays allows ships to travel in a multitude of directions, and at the end of the DLC you have to destroy it. And the original Mass Effect 3 ending was meant to be just that. The ending was going to have Shepard and the other races to tactically lure the Reapers to the mass relays and blow the mass relays up, which would have caused massive explosions that would catch the Reapers out, which in my opinion would have really made more sense and maybe might have set up a really good confrontation between the elusive man and Shepard. Best thing about Mass Effect Andromeda is the gameplay. The combat mechanics are the best of the franchise. The ability to use the jetpack to hover over enemies and switch profiles during gameplay is something that made me enjoy Mass Effect Andromeda. The ability to maneuver around numerous enemies at once and detonating biotic attacks has never been so satisfying, and I think they should keep that gameplay for the next game. The exploration is improved compared to Mass Effect 1. The Nomad is better than the Mako, although the Mako in Legendary Edition was a massive improvement on the Mako in the original version of the first game. And the planets are distinctive of each other, which was the main thing I did not like about Mass Effect 1, which essentially copied and pasted every planet and maybe subtly altered some of the stuff, but Andromeda does everything Mass Effect 1 should have done in the first place in terms of exploration. But the worst thing about Mass Effect Andromeda is the lack of new aliens. Apart from the gameplay, Mass Effect Andromeda hasn't been that innovative, and the story was pretty mid compared to the original trilogy, especially with the writing, which was all over the place, in my opinion. The main thing that makes Andromeda not so good is not being able to introduce us to new species, and a lack of ideas for them. The Ket, Remnant and Angara are not enough species, and they get the worst character build up, unlike the other races which were built up well, that by the end of Mass Effect 3 we knew what each race was like and how they did things. The deficit of the character build up from the previous games is the reason why we don't feel the same about the Andromeda races. And Andromeda should have had more imagination and should have just thrown in some of the alien races that were originally planned to be shown in the previous games. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, I have a lot of videos like this coming, so subscribe and I'll see you next time. Take care.